I understand that the provincial government presently provides partial funding to do community wildfire protection plans, but that funding can't exceed $15,000 or 50% of the cost of the plan. So the rest has to be made up, as you know, by the community. But I've spoken to a number of those communities, and they say that they have trouble just even getting that extra 50%, whether it be in money or in resources. And as a result, by my count, at least 100, incorporated areas, municipalities, districts don't have CWPPs in place. Now, some of them don't need them, but some of them do. So I'm just wondering what you make of that funding problem.
Well, I think a couple of things that are important about that. First of all, the fact that there is, around 100 community wildfire protection plans either in place or in the process of being produced by a local community. So pretty significant number across the province in terms of those that have participated in the development of those plans. And the second key point, I think, is that money that the provincial government provided, about $40 or $41 million altogether for combination of the preparation of the plans and then implementation, is under the management of the Union of BC Municipalities. That money was transferred at the end of 2003. So there is no obligation for the BC Union of Municipalities to continue to fund under the model that they have right now. If they chose to change the funding formula or the decisions around that, that would be their choice, not ours. We don't have the ability to direct that at this point in time. But if they thought within the overall group that they represent that there was a demand for, say, very small communities, as an example, perhaps those communities under 1,000 or under 2,000, if they made a decision and came to us and said, do you have any objection to us making that change? I certainly would not object to that. Yeah. That is within their decision-making authority and their parameter. We completely transfer that money to them, and they're simply implementing the programs. So, I think that at this point, I look at it from the perspective of a large number of communities have already put their plans in place or in process. And if there are some laggards, some that just can't seem to come up with that funding, if the UBCM leadership determined in their view that there should be some alternate program, certainly it would be their authority to implement. They wouldn't even need to necessarily come and ask us for that authority.
But there's a provincial interest here. Obviously, when it comes down to firefighting costs, you guys bear the burden. So do you think it should be changed then, if there's that kind of funding problem out there?
So it's not for me to say that. As the funding authority who provided the money to UBCM in the first place, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to provide them with future direction. If I did that, the Auditor General would be saying that I'd be interfering with the processes at UBCM. So it just wouldn't be fair for me even to comment on that. What I can say is that UBCM does have the authority to make those changes if they see fit. There have been a significant number that have had success already. And if they're finding a specific segment of their membership that's unable to complete their plans for some reason, for fiscal reasons, they would have the authority to make those changes.
Other communities say they haven't completed or even decided to write community wildfire protection plans because they feel that those documents, if unimplemented, would create a legal liability situation.
So that's not our read of it. We've had a look at that, and you don't want to put communities in a situation where they end up with incremental liability. But we've been unable to find where any sort of legal precedent has been set that would place that liability back to the community. I think in the end, arguably, if you had money available and you didn't do a community wildfire protection plan and you didn't try and make changes, there might be liability there. I'm not sure that that would be the case the other way around.
Going back to the issue of communities without wildfire protection plans, haven't written them. Communities like, for example, Salmon Arm, which was subject to major forest fire. Does that bother you? That they've decided not, for whatever reason, not to pursue that? approach? Does that bother you?
It would bother me if Prince George didn't have a wildfire protection plan because I live there.
Yeah, obviously that's where you live.
So, you know, I think what you're really asking is a constituent question, right? So I think that question is probably more appropriately asked of the people that live in Salmon Arm. You know, I think certainly I believe that every community that has significant interface zone should have a wildfire protection plan in place. There's no question about that in my mind. So I would like to see Salmon Arm and all of the other communities across the province build those plans. I know that we can be more successful in terms of protecting people's homes with the services that we provide as a Forest Service or protection branch. I know that if there's a wildfire management plan that we can access, that we can get to quickly, the right people, so that we understand the communication linkages, the interface zones that have been treated, those that haven't been treated, we can do our job far more effectively. So, yeah, I think it's important for all communities to have wildfire protection plans. I'm going to be implementing. I'm going to be speaking at UBCM again this year specifically. We've got a workshop on the wildfire situation from this year, and that'll be a message that I'll be reinforcing.
And I imagine if I were to ask you whether or not it was a concern to you that, you know, a community like Whistler hasn't implemented its key recommendations, or say another community that I'm taking a look at, West Vancouver, hasn't implemented its key recommendations, I would imagine you would say that that would be also a problem that should be addressed at a local level.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is important, though, to speak to on that is, you know, these are very, I mean, we didn't kind of get to this place overnight. We didn't get to the place where you know, we're more aware of wildfire. We're thinking more about it. You know, we've just come through the driest summer we've ever had, the hottest summer that we've ever had in the province, by and large across the province. We had a fair bit of lightning activity. We had quite a few human-caused fires as well. And yet, through all that, we've largely, the biggest single kind of area that you can focus on that's been hard hit is the provincial treasury. So the fact that, you know, we lost 7 structures, I don't like to lose those 7 structures, but, you know, it is what it is. I think overall we've done a pretty good job of protecting people's homes, their lives, the forests around us. But, you know, every time we talk about this, even when I kind of drive in and out of Victoria, and I look at some of the very dry areas around here, they just look ripe to me for a fire that could start very quickly, and if you don't get on it fast and hard and have a good plan in place, you could lose homes right here in West Vancouver or North Vancouver. You know, my brother lives in Upper Lynn Valley, and I often look around and there's lots of big old dry cedar trees around there too. So people, you know, I think a year like this brings attention to an issue of this nature, and I think that's a very positive thing. I think the fact that you're taking your time to write a thoughtful article about it and get that information out. I know that you attended many of the briefings that we did this summer, and on several occasions I commented how much I appreciated the fact that the media participated in getting this information out, talking lots about the fires. I think that was a real success story. I think that was very positive. As we got towards the end of the year, one of the stories that kind of hasn't been told yet is the number of human-caused fires came way down, really from kind of that August long weekend on. And I really attribute that largely to the media. I think the media responded by getting our message out that this was a very serious situation, by reporting the number of tickets that had been written and all that sort of thing. So, you know, we need that. We've got to do it collectively if we're going to be successful.